What's good, meathead? Coach MANdler here, and today I want to show you how to perform a kettlebell snatch without busting up the top of your wrist. Not only that, but by following this 3-point checklist I'm outlining in the video, you'll also maximize the efficiency and effectiveness of the movement so that you get faster, more pain-free gains in both maximal power output when doing heavier snatches and power endurance plus athletic size when using lower weights and higher volume with the movement. It's a pretty in-depth video that goes into your setup, initiation of the movement itself, and the punch-through cue at the end that makes all the difference in the world. So make sure you watch all the way to the end of the video, and I'll show you how to get the most from this powerful movement. Before we get started though, let me be clear that the type of snatch I'll be showing you how to perform is a hinged, pendulum-based kettlebell snatch using only knee and hip extension, initiated much the same way that you perform your standard swing. Not what I call a dead snatch that, like a dumbbell or barbell snatch variation, uses triple extension, which uses extension of your ankles as well as your knees and hips to drive the weight overhead into the catch position. Cool? Cool. Now, let's start the tutorial and let me show you how to keep from dinging yourself up when doing this badass movement.
So before we talk about the movement itself, the first thing we need to discuss is the actual setup. And when we're talking about the setup, there are 4 coaching points that I want to address. Number 1 is going to be your grip. When we're talking about our grip, the last thing we want is just a straight up gorilla grip where you don't have the ability to fluidly move your wrist around the kettlebell to catch it in the proper position. So what we want to do is have a firm handshake grip while making sure that the handle of the bell is set across diagonally from this point to this point. From here, we're in position, we grip it nice and tight, but with the ability, much like a handshake, to be fluid and have it able to move and punch up when we get to that overhead position. The next coaching point that we want to discuss is going to be your scapular placement. I'm talking about your shoulder blades back here. What we want is we want to pack our shoulders by depressing, pushing down on them so that it better activates our lats and they're allowed to co-contract with our core so that we can, number 1, better insulate our spine so that when we go through this explosive movement, we're doing so safely and with greater transmission of power from our lower body through to our upper body, and 2, be able to do so in a manner that helps us better control the overall arc of the kettlebell. We'll talk more about that later, but most importantly, scapular positioning. You set it up by simply packing, pushing them down, and what you'll find is when you do that, your lat will tighten up and everything will be in place, which lends to our next coaching point, which is going to be keeping our core tight. So we have our scapula depressed down, our lats are activated, everything is tight in that position. Next thing we want to do is brace hard. When I tell people to keep their core tight, I don't want to cue them to pull their belly button in like this. No, you want to push it out, you want to brace hard as if you are about to get punched in the stomach. Doing that and allowing that in conjunction with your activated lats is what's going to help insulate that spine and allow you to move more powerfully and safely as well. So, first we have our grip, second we have scapular positioning, third is going to be keeping your core nice and tight, and the last thing we want to do very simply, in order to initiate the movement, to really pull it into our hip crease so that we can then drive through into that powerful extension that's going to initiate the weight up, we want to position the bell in front of us instead of right underneath us the way we would a regular dumbbell snatch or a barbell snatch. So last coaching point for the setup, position it right here, and then this is where we're ready to go. What we'll do is we'll pull it into our hip crease and then drive extension, which will propel the weight up and get us ready for the last part of the movement. Okay, now that we're set up properly, the next thing we're going to do is initiate the movement itself. The kettlebell snatch is a very powerful, explosive movement, and for that to be done efficiently and with great proficiency, we need to make sure we're grounded properly. So we got a good athletic stance, our feet are about shoulder width, toes kind of slightly pointed out, our heels are down, and we're actively pushing our knees out to help better activate our hamstrings and our glutes. When we're doing a snatch, it is driven through extension of our knees and our hips. So in order to do that, we need to co-contract our anterior chain, our posterior chain, and with our core, and do so in a synergistic manner. And the best way to do that is to initiate it while keeping our heels down, our knees pushed out, and pulling it into our hip crease by releasing here, and then driving through extension of our hips and knees. All right, so at this point, everything we've done with the setup and initiation of the movement is pretty much the same thing we would do for the kettlebell swing. The only thing we're gonna add to that is a high pull and what I call a punch through. Okay, so let's first talk about the high pull. After we pulled the kettlebell into our hip crease, we're gonna extend and pull it to us right here. What that's gonna do is it's going to keep the kettlebell in a, basically a shortened arc. So the last thing we want is to have that kettlebell, we don't want it looping out, because the further that kettlebell is away from our center of gravity and our power source, which we've discussed is our hips, the less control we're going to have of it in space. So what we want to do is pull into us with that high pull. That's our first progression that we're going to talk about. The next progression is the punch through. And this is where people really mess up. With that high pull, we're going to tame the arc by shortening the actual stroke or the loop or pendulum effect that the weight has in space, which is going to help give us better control. The punch through is what prevents us from busting up the top of our forearms. What we want to do here, real simple, this is an extension of the high pull itself. We're going to move our wrist around the kettlebell instead of the kettlebell around our wrist. Catching it in this position is what allows us to catch it softly and prevent that banging effect. So let's put it in motion. I'll do 2 high pulls, and then on that third one, I'm going to punch through. I'm going to move our wrist around the kettlebell instead of the kettlebell around the wrist, and that's what's going to allow me to catch it softly. So 2 high pulls, taming the arc, then punch through. One more time. 2 high pulls, taming the arc, punch through. And that's your key. The biggest cue, make sure you move your wrist around the kettlebell, punch up, instead of have the kettlebell move around your wrist. When you shorten the stroke, shorten that arc, taming it, and keeping it from getting too loopy, and you also punch through, that's what's going to allow you to catch it softly instead of having it just crush the top of your forearm.
Hey man, hopefully you enjoyed today's in-depth kettlebell snatch tutorial. If you enjoyed it, then before you go, please show your support for the channel by doing 3 quick and simple things for me here. Number 1, like the video so I know I'm sharing what you want to see and experience from the channel and its content. 2, subscribe and hit the alert icon so that you receive notification of new uploads the second I take them live here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And lastly, number 3, let me know what else I can do to help you achieve what you're looking to with your workouts by leaving a question or suggestion for future videos down in the comments section below. As I've always stressed to you here, I'm here to help you out. And the best way for me to do that is by having you tell me exactly what you need assistance with so that I know what my marching orders are for helping with your personal transformation. So please, let me know what I can do to help better serve your cause down in the comment section below, and I'll do everything in my power to deliver fast and badass results for you. Appreciate your time, guys. Have a good one. MANdler, out.